guys, and welcome back for the 12th day of Christmas tutorials. Today we will be making this beautiful frilly apron. So the pattern and measurements will be over at the blog post, which will be linked below, and the information icon in the corner of this video. There will be a printable for the pocket and then instructions on how to make the rest of the apron. This pattern does have several pieces. You're going to have one of the skirt, 2 pieces for the bib. We're going to have 4 ties, and then 1 piece that is your waistband. So these are the ties. The ones around your neck are going to be smaller or thinner than the ones that are going to be around your waist. So when you do check out those measurements, know that the thinner ones are, but because there are so many pieces, it's just best if you read the blog post so that you don't get confused. This is the frill piece. We will have a very long frill piece because we will be doing something called the knife pleat, and then you'll need 4 pocket pieces. So I'll have that printable for you, but you can of course make your own pocket if you like a different shape. And I am going to start preparing my pockets. So I'm going to take 2 of the front pieces and I'm going to decorate them with a little bit of lace trim. I did get that lace trim over at the Dollar Tree, so super cheap, and I think it adds a really cute touch to the pocket. So we're going to do that to both of the front pieces, and then after that we're going to take the back pieces and we're going to sandwich them on top, and we're going to sew the pocket pieces inside out first. So once you are done putting the 2 pieces together, we will bring it to the sewing machine, and you can do 1/4 of an inch all the way around, but you will leave about an inch gap, and that will be used for turning. So I'm going to turn that right sides out, and you can use something like a knitting needle or a chopstick to help you get all your little corners poked out. And then after, we will turn the little raw edges that are in that little hole. We'll just turn them inwards and then press that down. So I'm just going to do a quick top stitch only on the top of the pocket. So I'll do that for both, and now we can place it on the skirt of our apron. I folded my skirt in half and I placed my first pocket, and then I will flip the skirt over, leaving it folded, and then I'll feel where the pocket is, and then I'll just put that right on top just so that I know that it is symmetrical and in the exact same spot on the other half. And I'll just pin those in place, and then I will do a top stitch around the pocket, and of course don't sew up the top of the pocket. And then that is it for the pockets. When you are sewing around the pocket, you will have that hole, and you want to make sure that your little raw edges are they're on the inside, and when you do the top stitch, that is going to close up that hole, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay, so after that we can start to prepare our ruffle. So you're going to need a lot of ruffle. I will have an approximate measurement on my blog, but it all depends on your pleats or if you're going to gather it. So I am doing the knife pleat, so I'm going to attach some strips together. So this is how I do it, and I make sure that it is 1/4 of an inch over top, and then when I go to, I'm going to sew it diagonally, and then when I open it up, it will lay perfectly. All the edges of the rectangle will all line up. So now that I've done that, we can press the seam open, and then we will be ready to iron our ruffle. So now we're going to fold the short side in 1/2 inch. We will press that down. I'm not going to finish off the other end of the ruffle because I don't know where it's going to end up. So like I said, I made excess so that when I am, sewing it onto the skirt, wherever I end up, I'll just snip it off. So I'm just taking the ruffle and I'm folding it in half, and then I can start to place my ruffle onto the skirt. I am using a fork technique. So if you've never seen this before, it's called a knife plate, but we're using a fork, which is pretty funny. You can do this, of course, with your hands if you don't want to. But how you do this is you will make sure that your ruffle is against the right side of your fabric, and then we'll take the fork and we'll insert the fabric into the furthest prong, and then we will spin it, and then it will tuck it under. So I'll do it a few times just so that you can see, because I mean the first time I saw it I had to really watch it. But I do recommend having, I mean if you have a good neck on your sewing machine, then it doesn't matter what size fork, but because I have a large fork it was a little bit awkward, but I would just use a smaller fork next time that had like a smaller handle, and then it would work just fine. So I'm going to do that all the way around the curved edge of the skirt, and it just looks so pretty. I'm so excited, you have no idea. So like I said, if you don't want to do this type of pleat, you can of course just do a based stitch all the way down your ruffle and then pull the thread to make it gathered, and you can just make a regular gathered ruffle at the bottom of your skirt. So it's totally up to you. So now that I've done that, I'm just going to use my pinking shears and just even off the edge, and I'm going to be finishing it off with a zigzag stitch. If you don't want to do that and you have a serger, you can do that. You can even use some double fold bias tape just to hide those raw edges, but this is the only raw edge in the project, and I think it looks fine. I mean, you won't see it. So, and then after that I'm going to fold down the ruffle and I'll do a top stitch, and that will lay it flat. If not, the ruffle might flip up, so it will hold the ruffle down as well as hold the seam behind. Okay, so now we're going to work on the waistband, and for the waistband we're going to fold that in half, and we're going to sew down the long side, and we're also going to sew about 1 inch down the short side. So I sewed all the way down the long edge, and then I will do just 1 inch, just barely enough, so that when we do flip it right sides out, that short side wants to fold in and we don't have to worry about the corner there. And now we will prepare our ties. So we have 4 ties, 2 are thinner, 2 are thicker, so just remember that. And we'll just sew all the way down the long side, and then if you want to miter that corner, if you want to make it rounded, or if you want to make it square, that's totally up to you. So I'm just going to round off my corner, and then I will use a chopstick to turn it right sides out. So like I said, I will have 4 of these ties. And then after, I'm going to press it with my iron, and then I will do a top stitch all the way around. Okay, so now we are going to start to assemble the bib portion, and I'll just take one of the bib pieces. I will place my ties with the raw edges at the top, and I will do that for the second one, and then I'll get the second bib piece and place that with the right sides together on top, and then we will just pin it into place, and then we will sew all the way around except for the bottom of it. So I hope you're enjoying the 12 days of Christmas so far, and if you do make any of these tutorials, I would love it if you shared. I do have a Facebook and Instagram. I do post sneak peeks and things that I'm working on, so you can check those out. And if you're not already, subscribe to the channel so that you can stay tuned for future tutorials. Okay, so after I did it inside out, then I turned it right side out and I pressed it, and then I'll just do a quick top stitch all the way around. And now I'm going to work on putting the skirt onto the waistband. So as you can see, I still have that side a little bit open. The seam of your waistband will go up against the raw edge of the skirt. I am bringing the raw edge of the skirt down about 1/8 of an inch, and then we will be sewing a 1/4 of an inch away from the raw edge of the skirt, if that makes sense. So I'm going to do that quick, and then you'll see a little trick here, which I just learned, and I'm so glad I learned. But we're going to fold up the waistband, and then we will press that seam down, and then we will do a top stitch along the bottom of the waistband, and then that will completely hide that raw edge. And it's sort of like a French seam, but so much easier and doesn't use a lot more fabric. So I love that. That's so awesome. Okay, so now we will attach the bib to the skirt, and I'm going to find the center of the waistband and then the center of the bib. I just placed a pin, and I will put that together. I'm going to put the bib against the right side of the apron. And again, I will bring that raw edge of the bib a little bit down. 1/8 of an inch is good. And then we will do your seam a 1/4 of an inch away from the raw edge of the bib. Oh geez, I almost lost my camera. Okay, so after that, again, we're just going to press that seam, and then we will do a top stitch there to hide that raw edge. But before we do that, we are going to place our last ties into the little slot there, and I'll just pin that into place, and I'll put my other tie on the other side, and then I will sew up the short side of the waistband along the long side, covering up that raw edge, and then back down the short end, and then that will be the end, and you will have a beautiful apron. So I just want to say thank you so much if you have been with me for all of the 12 days of Christmas tutorials, and I've loved all of your comments and your praise, and to all the new subscribers and everyone who has gone over to the Facebook page and liked it. I really appreciate each and every one of you, and I've been working my little butt off getting these tutorials out for you guys, because I'm so thankful for the 21,000 plus subscribers that I've accumulated. I've over doubled the growth of my channel in the last year, and I owe it all to you guys. So I hope you guys have an amazing holiday and New Year's, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.